Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Counselors and Coffee. I am picking up our guest today. Her name is Gentry, and I'll let her tell you guys a little bit about herself. We're live.
Hi!
Well, not live, but we're on.
How's it going?
Here's
Is
your
that
coffee.
mine?
It is. I hope
Thanks.
I did it right.
That's totally fine. Whatever.
So-
I'm not really picky.
It's
Which
okay.
is awful because I work at store.
I thought all Starbucks people would be. But
Okay.
I don't know. Today's show is brought to you by Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Siren. Yep.
Woo woo! Welcome to Counselors and Coffee.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So, why don't you tell our folks here a little bit about you, where you're at in your counseling journey?
Yeah, so I have about a month before graduation. I'll be graduating on May 18th.
Ooh.
Yeah, I go to Denver Seminary, and I currently work in substance abuse and domestic violence. So it's been really good, really challenging, and I love it. So I hope to continue doing that work. I'm moving to Washington to continue my counseling journey.
So, Washington, look out. You'll
Yeah.
be having a good therapist coming your way.
So moving to Seattle, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a new documentary out called Seattle's Dying. I was watching a little bit of that today. It's really scary. But there's a lot of substance use in just like Washington in general, in any state, but in Washington there's a lot of it.
I'll look it up and put a description down below so you guys
Yeah.
can look it up too.
It's a fairly new documentary that came out. It's all the rage.
So, your topic that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
What is counseling? What is not counseling?
Yeah.
Why that topic?
I think there's just, so I would be curious to know, like, just like generationally, I think there might be a difference in like what counseling is and acceptance of counseling, and maybe more so in my generation versus like what my parents, especially growing up in the church, not knocking on the church, but just there's that kind of that mentality where counseling is focused towards people who are really broken or have that extra, like, you just, no one else can help you in this area. A mentor's not going to do it. And I think there's maybe just in my, just where I'm at right now of seeing there might also be some misconceptions of like a dire need for counseling as well in my generation. And so as millennials, because I am one.
I am too. Technically, I don't identify as one though,
Yeah.
because I grew up in middle of nowhere and didn't have a cell phone till college and have a internet till like my senior year of high school. So anyway,
Yeah, I don't fit the mold at all, but that's okay. Another topic. So I think in both areas where there's this dire need, and also where in past generations where it's something that was seen as like a last resort, it's not a cure in either camps. And maybe this stressor of like this relational dynamic that we're suffering in my generation, and it's not like a relationship replacement by any means. Like what we're here essentially to work ourselves out of a job, and which is kind of a weird concept, but that's what we do. Is you help people come to a place where they can have outside resources.
yeah.
And one of the main things that we ask our clients, I think especially in where I'm at, just because it can be very isolating, is what's your support system look like? Like what are your relationships? How many friends like do you need? How many friends do you have? Just because when you come to counseling in a generation that's so reliant upon social media, there's just, you can say that you have a lot of support or you have a lot of friends, but in reality, like, where's your support network? Same thing with substance abuse. It's an intimacy replacement, essentially. That's that's the world that we live in today.
Yep.
Is what are you doing to fill that pocket?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was like, okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is counseling? What is not counseling? It is not a cure. Something I've chatted with my team I work with because we bring this up a lot, because we work with severe and persistent mental illness, that's schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, all those difficult ones.
Yeah.
And counseling looks a lot different for them. Some of the symptoms are very highly disorganized, so hard to make appointments, to come into the building. But so I'm on an ACT team, so it's assertive community treatment. So we go to them, meet them in the community, and even in school, like counseling in the community, like you can't do that. So we'll meet in parks, we'll meet in their house, we'll go for walks, we'll pick them up, bring them in for the doctor's appointments and to meet with us. And a lot of it is not typical what you would think is therapy. It's some of it's modeling. We're modeling the importance of following up on your appointments, and just showing up. And sometimes if they've had a shot, like their Haldol shot injection for the month is coming towards the end of its efficacy, then the psychotic symptoms might start to rise up, which start being more delusional, more paranoid. And to talk deeply about their childhood at that time is not it's not usually super effective. No. Because I'll ask them about the childhood. Yeah, well, my mom this, and then the aliens came in and then they put the scorpions on my stomach, and just very delusional things. So a lot of it is really, and I would like your opinion on this, because maybe I'm too jaded being out of school, but a lot of it is reflecting relationally with them. So we're not just hanging out chilling, but it is listening to them and reflecting back kind of things we're hearing. And they're very lonely. So it's okay that you have these symptoms. It's okay that you struggle with this. I'm not gonna get freaked out and kind of leave. But if I were to type up in the note, it'd be very difficult to capsulize what you think typical therapy would be.
Yeah. I don't think it looks like typical therapy at all. I think so. Oh my goodness. As you were talking, I was trying to think of this book. But I think it's so important to be able to treat anyone who's in an office with you, first off, meeting their basic needs. Because I think if you're thinking of private practice or whatever, those aren't the things that you can't just come in and have regular talk therapy. So in an environment where you're meeting people, outside in their natural environment, their first need might not be to have a conversation with somebody. Yes, they need to be heard. Yes, they need to be able to speak to somebody in a way that they're accustomed to. So, but then what are the other things that need to be dealt with first? Okay, so this book that I can't think of right now, I'll tell Ryan later. He can link it down below later. But it has to do with, there's an actual, when the speaker and a listener are communicating with one another, and when a listener is repeating back and reflecting upon the information that's being shared, allowing the speaker to be fully heard, there's actually a chemical brain change that happens within both people, and a connection is made. So I think for you to be able to do that with somebody who isn't used to normal communication, is used to being disregarded or ignored out in the community, they just need to have that connection with somebody. Whatever, it might look strange to somebody looking, it will look very strange. But that's just what they need.
And we've seen that we've had clients who are in hospitalized for, one of them I'm thinking of was like a year and a half for some pretty severe things that got him hospitalized. And the thought when he was discharged was that he's probably going to be back here in a few months, and just how bad he was, his mental illness. But he's only been hospitalized since he discharged 2 years later once. And that wasn't actually really hospitalized. He went to the jail, and then they just did some treatment there for a few days, but he came out. But so though, he was very his relationships were very off. So he at one time wanted to give the doctor a hug, and she said, "Okay, well, I know you don't know me, and I don't want to scare you, so I'll just shake your hand." Very polite. He goes, "You don't even like me." Just took off running down the hall. To now, he just walks up, he gives people handshakes, or like we offer a hug. He's, oh, I'm cool. And now he's coming to the office more frequently because as relational connection, almost like a family type feel. Again, you wouldn't say that in counseling, right? But we're not his family, but modeling social structures. And now it's actually sometimes hard to find him in his apartment because he's actually intermingling with other people around him where we never saw that happening because he's so afraid of people. But the therapy to get there was really, it looked like hanging out, but it wasn't. It was intentional. It was intentionally reflecting how he got upset with the server at Burger King and how that worked. And but yeah, it doesn't look like typical therapy. But yeah, it's like you said, that relational piece is. And again, in school, what do we say is the number one predictor of therapeutic relationship? The drill it into their heads from day one is it's a relationship. Yet sometimes I feel like narrative I hear from other people is that, well, that's not really therapy. You got to do interventions. You got to do this. You got to do some DBT. You got to do CBT. You got all these different things. But it's like, well, if this is the biggest predictor, then shouldn't we kind of spend most of our time on that part?